What's up, Nubians? Welcome to techn00bians, part of the Geekish Network. This is your weekly deep dive into video games steeped in the blackest blacks. For those of you who don't know, techn00bians is a live stream and podcast hosted by Black technology professionals, yours truly and the others on the call. We discuss the what, when, and how you can get into this world of technology, particularly video games. With me today, we have our man with a million plans, Chuck.
What's up, everyone?
Our producer, sleuther, and deducer, Shanae.
Hey, folks.
Our marksman engineer, Leon. Uh-oh, Leon. Well, wave at us, Leon. You can see us.
What's up, people?
Our artist extraordinaire, Ryan. And we got Travis.
At least I'm not muted.
Travis.
Check your mic.
Okay.
One person we needed to mute.
I had nothing nice to say to Travis, so I figured I would just, do like my mama said.
You follow your mama's advice now. You ain't got nothing nice to say. Just don't say nothing at all. But you still said it though. We just didn't hear it.
I mean,
That wasn't my mother's advice ever.
All right. I am your host, Cherie. So we are techn00bians. We're here every week. Why? We want to sustain, inspire, and nurture successful creative technologists in the pursuit of Black excellence and content development. All right, everyone. We kick things off with the news. We do a long topic. This week, we are talking about to be or not to be. How do you reconcile being a gamer and being a game dev? How do you reconcile those two parts, that dichotomy there? I think it's going to be a great conversation. So, before
you don't have the answer yet.
I don't know what the answer is.
All the answers.
Let's see. The answer is 42.
Always. Or Unicron.
Always. But, before we get into it, we're going to talk some tech and gaming news with our news segment, Technewsians. All right. So last week we had all Apple news all the time. And now the showcase has happened. So, what did we think of the showcase? Travis, set us up here.
And okay.
Oh man, the tone of your voice already tells me what you think of the showcase.
It's September, right, people? So there's going to be iPhones. And so it's the mini, it's the normal, it's the Max, it's the Pro Max. It's the iPhone 12s. Oh, they say it's a 13. It's a 12S. Okay.
His mama calls it 13, so it's a 13.
Well, okay.
I'm calling 13. I'm calling 13.
I'm gonna call him Clay then. All right,
that's right.
Okay. Now they also released the Apple Watch Series 7, and depending on who you ask, right. That's not the Apple Watch that Apple really had planned. Everyone was saying, oh, it should have been squared. It should have been all this other kinds of stuff. And then there were some leaks, alluding to the fact that they had some catastrophic sort of manufacturing issues. Right. And so because of that, I think, this was their plan B. And iPad and iPad mini. That's really it. Right now,
yeah.
This is something Leon look, he's got a point, right? I am in the church of Apple. I am, right? Yeah, I'm admitting it, right?
Are you a congregant? Are you a deacon? Like, what's your official role? I got to understand that.
I would say that I'm almost a deacon. And when I say that I'm almost a deacon is because I still have PCs in my house, right? So I'm not fully converted. I think they all have their uses. But, it's getting to a point now, seriously, where I look at the iPhones and if they don't change the form factor like drastically or do something like, why bother? Right. Like it's finally gotten to that point now where with this new iPhone, I think it's all about the camera, and it's been about the camera for the past 3-4 years. Right. I don't know what else they can do, honestly, with camera. Right. And so it's going to be interesting. Like, but
how many cameras do they have right now? I think it was 3.
Well,
before, right?
there's like 3, like
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Well, and then do you count the LiDAR? Do you count the front facing one? Then it's 5, and it depends. So for me, I'll tell you, aside from just the show being just, it was okay, right? It was okay. The thing that really, really, really made me angry this week was that I thought they had it figured out. And what I mean by that is I thought they had it figured out. Like hey, Deacon Travis or Mini Deacon Travis, we know you about to buy this phone. Don't front like you ain't about to buy this phone. So I actually they have a nice pre-order thing now, right? Where they actually take you through your choices, get everything sorted out for you. And so all you really have to do is press one button and you good, right? Like at that time. So here I am at 5 o'clock in the morning, like a damn fool. 5 o'clock in the morning, I hit the button and it's like, nah, bruh. And I'm going like, what's going on? This is how bad it was. I'm trying to get my Apple phone with my Apple credit card, and you can't do it.
Oh yeah, I heard that there were problems with the Apple credit card.
I thought I was in. I thought I was in the club. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Stop. We don't want that Apple money. We want real money.
You know what, Ryan? You're a green texter. You should just be quiet. Just put it down. Just put it down. And you're muted. Nobody hear you anyway.
Green bubbles. Can't even hear you. You mute it, Ryan.
I love it. That's how you should say.
Treat you right. Don't worry about it. Android will treat you right.
So
sometimes.
So nobody missed out on anything, is what you're saying, Travis, for like this.
Like it's seriously, like seriously, and I mean this with every fiber of my being. The rumor, broadcasts on YouTube were more entertaining to me than the Apple showcase this time.
It's a shame.
Better luck next year.
Yeah, it kind of bums me out because I think I mentioned last week I still am on the iPhone 8, and all I want is some Touch ID. That's all I want. Like just keep the Face ID, but give me a Touch ID option too.
They're not gonna give you a Touch ID option. That thing's gone forever, I think.
I think it might be gone forever. And look, if you're
I'm stuck on my 8.
No, if you have an 8, like you'll be in heaven on a 13. You really will be,
it's
right?
True.
I mean, it's past time for you to you could actually have Ryan's old janky Android phone and still be better.
You know what it'll be like? It'll be like when I got my new car. After driving the previous one for 18 years, and I'm like, oh, look at how fancy this Nissan Juke is. Like it's got a backup camera and the seats get warm, and everyone's like, yeah, they've had that for like 10 years. I'm like, I didn't know. It's the same things. You upgrade your phone, you're like, oh my gosh, look how fast it loads.
Can I use this, by the way, as a segue to say, speaking of things that everyone has had for forever, Nintendo very quietly added Bluetooth audio output support to the Switch this week.
Oh, did they?
They very kind of like unceremoniously announced it in a tweet. And I mean, right now it's set up. I mean, I updated my Switch. So, and I see the little Bluetooth, headphones option in there. So now we said?
Wait, so the reason I was really cracking on a Switch, now they just fixed with a software?
Yes, that's the thing. That is the thing, right? Because in the past when people have gamers have been wanting this, usually we've generally heard there was like a wireless interference issue, right? And if anyone remembers that really disastrous appearance for Miyamoto, I think it was on like the E3 stage or something.
Like 2006.
Yeah, it was a while ago when he was trying to show like Zelda using like the the Wii remotes, and like there's a zillion cell phone cameras, cell phones in the audience, and it did not work. And I think that has still like spooked Nintendo. So everyone was like, oh, it's a hardware issue. But then they updated it with the software. The software fix this week. So obviously some people are a little upset because we've been buying third-party accessories and stuff like that. So
yes,
I want to see what people think about this.
I'm angry.
I bought
third party. I bought that third party adapter and paid $60 for it. And then they're like, oh, we're not going to have Bluetooth. People don't want Bluetooth. People want to plug their headphones in and be completely immersed in Nintendo games. They said everything. And then they dropped this, and it's a software update. It's a horrible software update at that. Yeah. I'm not even going to talk about how hard it is to get your Switch to actually work. You have to have.
No, let's talk about it. Chuck. But like seriously, let's talk about it.
Go ahead, Leon.
I think here there's two things that come to mind. One, this is a obvious marketing miss in that they have new editions of the Switch that they've been releasing, and this would have been a really clean thing to say, hey, update your Switch with incremental features, and oh, we have Bluetooth, right? They could have been clean. They would have been clean in this regard, but it's a software thing. Look, so here's what I got to get down to. So back in the day with Microsoft used to get a lot of flack for the cost of its wireless protocol devices and its controllers, but Microsoft also spent a ton of time making sure that they didn't interfere with each other and you had great range. Think about it. Have you ever heard of wireless problems with the Microsoft Xbox product? You haven't. It hasn't happened. So I have some sympathy for Nintendo because, yes, it's hard to get wireless right, but you just look incompetent. Like, you're just like, yeah, it took us 3 years to fix that bug. Like, for real?
I don't think this was a 3 years to fix the bug issue. I think that, like, honestly, like you said, I think this was a political issue. I think this was like Cherie said earlier, they probably got spooked from before, and clearly it wasn't a hardware issue. We had no idea it wasn't a hardware issue. Clearly it was just a software thing. And like you said, yeah, there's some challenges there, but this was not a 3-year fix. This was probably 3 years to convince the people that need to be convinced to push this fix.
Yeah.
We've all
hold on. It's not fixed. Let's talk about what it takes to get this thing to work.
Fixed.
You have to have 2 controllers, 4 Joy-Cons. They have to be synced. They have to be on. And then you can actually plug in your Bluetooth to make it work. And it drops the Bluetooth every hour, every 2 hours. So it's not fixed. Don't think this is fixed.
Wait. You have to have the controllers connected?
You have to have the controllers connected. They have to be on in order to get it to work.
Wow. So now we see why Nintendo did not make a press release.
This is why
they should have never released that. They should have just said use wires.
Exactly.
They did.
Exactly.
They did. They're trying to get Travis. They're trying to get Travis. They heard. They're like, man, this Travis Williams guy. The only thing that he's got against us is this thing.
Look, I have a special headphone case for traveling, and there's an audio cable in there for the Switch. That's it. Right?
Me too.
That's it.
Wow.
I just want to say I just started really watching What We Do in the Shadows.
Uh-huh.
And
by the way,
I'm sorry.
I said same. I'm actually on episode 3.
And I get a lot of kick out of the emotional vampire. And let me just tell you right now, I have never been so satiated with Nintendo hate amongst all of you.
I saw you feeding.
Yes, I see.
Wait till October, Travis. At least.
But Leon makes a really good point. Like, I mean, even if they did release this as a software update, the janky software update that it is, like, even more reason to have paired this like an actual like proper wireless with the OLED and say, hey, this is going to come standard with the OLED. Here's a good reason if you want to update, or if you want to try and use this like not great version, here you can have this as well.
They spent.
Apple would have did it that way. Apple would have did it that way. Like, even though they knew their old machines could actually work, they'd be like, "Now you got to buy the OLED, and then
it'll work better. Yeah, that's how Apple. They did do this all wrong. It's pretty bad how they did this. I was like, what? What? Why did you even release this? You should have kept it. You should have kept it. They were like, oh, we're going to release it for the OLED so we get it right. So when the OLED comes out, it'll work. But this is the beta group. Everybody updated is the beta group.
Sorry, I find it really, really amusing. Like there's so many parallels between Apple and Nintendo when we think about them within, like in terms of like their closed ecosystems and how they gate really common table stakes features that every other platform has. But Apple still manages to come out on top and get people really excited about. I remember when they released the OS that updated and said we've got folders now, and oh my god, people's heads were like, folders. Oh my god, they've just changed the game again. And I'm like, folders? I wasn't yet in the Apple ecosystem, by the way. But I'm deep in the Apple ecosystem now. I'm talking to y'all on a MacBook, but at the time I was like,
but you have to understand. The reason why, Shanae, is because when Apple releases a feature, it works. It flawlessly works on everything. It works.
Apple been working for a long ass time.
They don't.
Apple always had Apple, when they release a feature, you wait to the next update. You don't wait. You don't download that first one, y'all. You download the 0.1 afterwards. But it usually is more, at least like 80%.
But Nintendo say, "Hey, we gave you Bluetooth now." And you're like, okay, let me go plug it in. Like, I only got one Joy-Con. Well, guess what? You don't have Bluetooth.
This is, I mean,
let's try that out. I saw it. I downloaded it. I saw it on my thing, but I didn't actually try it out because I mostly play my Switch, on the TV. Or if I do play it in handheld mode, it's like I'm playing it when I'm like going to bed. So I'm like, I'm going to fall asleep. I don't care,
I don't need things in my ears.
Yeah, I don't need things in my ears.
So I love how the fact that you can have Bluetooth, but only if you do the hokey pokey.
Nintendo.
They spell blue.
They may have fixed that update.
That's what it's all about.
Because my Nintendo just updated, my Switch just updated, so they may have fixed it.
Maybe they fixed it. Okay.
People are going crazy. People are like, what is going on here?
At least Nintendo's consistent, all right?
They hate they hate their fans.
They give us little crumbs and stuff like that too. And it's just like, you know what? We're going to hang on here because at the end of the day, everyone wants that next Zelda. I'm gonna get Metroid Dread. We're just gonna take it.
What is that when you're used to abuse? You just take abuse all the time. That's what Nintendo's done to us for the last 20 years.
I don't know if I go so far as to say abuse. Like we got some real abuse in this industry
you're abused
right now. Being unhappy about Bluetooth ain't abuse, but Nintendo just. I want
but we will have a little more time for some Nintendo love and hate in our long topic, I think. But let's go on to our next story. Chuck, you have a story for us.
Oh, yes. So my story is actually about God of War Ragnarok. I just happened to find this. I changed it up. I was going to do a Nintendo story because they did something great with Lego. But we can talk about that. We can talk about that later. But they did do something great with Lego. They made a box. And the box is amazing. We'll talk about that later, though. But so Matt Sophis, or if y'all familiar with Matt Sophis, he's the writer behind God of War 3, and he's been a writer on the God of War series since like God of War 2, and he is the lead writer on God of War Ragnarok. And he has some choice words. So he dropped 11 tweets back to back on Angrodota. Y'all know who Angrodota is? Yeah,
black character.
Yeah. She's the black character in the series. She's the black girl. And he says, "Whew, mute button got to work out this weekend. Granted of my own doing. You probably know what this is about. And if you don't, bless you. So I'm just going to address things here and hope futilely it will be the last time I have to do so. Saddle up." That was the first tweet. Wow. And then he came for all the smoke. He said he's Angroboda. I think Angroboda in our game is a young black woman. The vast majority of players are thrilled and think she looks incredible. And boy, does she. She looks amazing. But a tiny vocal sliver of the internet was offended at this notion. I'm going to address a few of the main topics of outrage. And he actually lists the main topics of outrage. Number one, you caved to outside pressures. And he says, I can count on 2 fingers the number of notes I've gotten for God of War and God of War Ragnarok. I can count on 2 fingers. Not 2 hands, 2 fingers.
2 fingers.
2 fingers. And then he says, you made it political. He says, as a writer, your job is to tell stories that are compelling and relatable. You bring pieces of yourself to the story and your opinions shine through. So writing is always political. It's just usually only called that if its politics aren't agreed with.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That is true.
I agree.
He goes, it's not accurate to Norse mythology, doesn't respect the culture. He goes, whoa, boy, where did I start with this one? They got a Greek god in Norse mythology. Let's start with that. He's a Greek god in Norse mythology.
Thank you.
My favorite thing is that folks they'll accept anything. They'll accept giant snake gods. They'll accept like, folks who got like horns coming out the face and stuff like that. But as soon as you turn a character black, it becomes political.
Oh, yeah.
Accept it anymore. Suddenly it's like, that's too far. You've already gone beyond the bounds of my
all of Greek mythology is political. All the Norse mythology is political.
Everything is political.
I need my heartbeat to only be Caucasian. Like what?
Oh Lord.
When you started this, I didn't know where it was going. I was part of the Bless You crew because I had not heard any of this.
I'm going to stop right there because he goes into spoiler alerts of the show. Okay. But the whole thing is, the internet was outraged that they made a black character in a mythology. And he's like, nothing about mythology is historical. Wow. It's our interpretation of myths. This fiction. We can do whatever we want to do.
Literally
mythology.
This is what you always see where you have people. Obviously it's clear anti-blackness. It's not actually people caring about the integrity of a story or that things are canon. It's just anti-blackness. You see this every single time when they have black people in any world that's outside, that's in the future, or in a fantasy world, Yes, people have a fit. They want to be they're okay with black people being in the past because that means we were in chains and we were subjugated. They're okay with that, but they don't want to see black people moving up. They don't want to see that.
They're type of blacks. That's what it is.
Yep.
I just think it's funny how gods can appear as stags and eagles and all this other kind of stuff. But not a black person.
That's unrealistic.
The way that we teach history too, I think it just reinforms the ignorance around the culture in which we live, right? We talk about we talk about World War II, right? When they have stories around or they have female Vikings or stories about female Vikings or stories about, black folks and fighting World War II. People get really upset because they're like, no, that didn't happen. In my mind, everything I was taught was that these were always white men. Mm-hmm. And when anything deviates from what they expect, people don't question what they were taught, especially given the wealth of information we now have access to, the power. How much information do we have on our phone? Travis, when all of us were in school, you want to do research, you had to go to the library.
Yes.
26 volume encyclopedia, right? And now we have access to so much information, but we still do a really bad job of questioning the things that we were taught as kids and questioning where the politics actually lies and isn't a lot of the stuff that we were taught, and understanding how that shapes our media and stuff like that. And come on, yes, Vulcans can be black. Heimdall can be black. And if you really want to try and be apolitical, why is this suddenly become political when you put a black person in it?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, and we've seen this in Norse mythology before. We saw this with Thor, when Idris Elba was going to be Heimdall. They're like, what?
Yeah.
No problems with all the other, mythological things they were having. Sure, that's fine. But a black guy with a sword and a hat, too far.
Another example, MJ in the new Spider-Man series and stuff as well. Right? When Zendaya. MJ, people lost their minds. They're like, no, MJ's got to have red hair and she's got to do this and she got to do that. And what do those actually do to define the character? We do a thing in video games a lot where we try, especially when we're doing reboots and re-envisionings of characters and existing IPs, where it's trying to understand what's the core DNA of that character or of that IP. What is the core DNA of MJ? If you said red hair, You're clearly wrong because Marvel didn't say red hair. So I think that's something I think that also, like, you know, in we talk about fandoms and how fandoms can kind of go the sort of wrong way with stuff. Like this is the sort of thing that stifles a lot of the creativity and it stifles the ability to bring in new audiences and new folks to enjoy stuff. I want more Star Treks out there, even though I don't enjoy a lot of the new ones. That means that more Star Trek's getting made and I get more Star Trek and I can talk about Star Trek with more people. What's wrong with that?
And then explain to everybody that Deep Space Nine is still the best series.
Still the best by far. It's not even a contest.
Not even a question. All right. We got one more story for you, Ryan. Can you want to talk a little bit about some NFT stuff?
Yeah. So this is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart because I'm an artist, and this is something that's been coming to my ethos for the past like 2 or 3 weeks. So I really want to know what you guys' opinions on this, but. So basically, there's an article right now that I came across that talks about NFTs. So OpenSea amid insider trading controversy rolls out NFT marketplace, and they also roll out an NFT marketplace app. So within the largest NFT marketplace, OpenSea is launching an app for users within the Google Play and Apple, Travis, that's your favorite spot right now, Apple App Store on Thursday, which is something cool. I personally think that's a cool thing. But the really cool thing about it is that OpenSea, their website saw 2 million transactions, which totals 3.4 billion in trading volume just in August alone. Now, if you guys think about the new technology and the way how things are moving in this direction, you know, NFTs are only about going on about like 2 years or 3 years old or something like that. You know, this is when people were really picking up on this stuff, but it still hasn't really caught on that much to like the majority of people. There's people who are still ignoring it, and there are people who just don't get it and they're dismissing it. So I kind of want to know what you guys' opinion is on this.
I want to learn more about NFTs, frankly. You know, like as you mentioned, like in the art, I mean, they've blown up in the art world, right? Like, you know, but of course, there's also like just some challenges and stuff like that with regards to it doesn't have a whole lot of regulation. So there's also, you know, there's other opportunities for people to steal art, you know, and make an NFT and sell it on the marketplace. And there's really like not a whole lot of recourse and stuff like that. I think we talked about a story a few weeks ago for Banksy, where somebody made an NFT of some fake Banksy art. They put it on Banksy's website. They sold it for $340,000, and then it did have a happy ending because the person whoever did this, I don't know if they were just an ethical hacker or whatever, but they did return the money minus the 5,000 Ethereum transaction fee.
Yeah.
But if they hadn't done that, what recourse was there? They didn't know who did it. Like it was just like, I'm here and now I got $340,000 and I'm gone. So it's definitely really interesting. It's a technology that's out there. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere anytime soon, or going away anytime soon. Yeah, so I think there needs to be, you know, I agree. There needs to be proper focus on it and like probably some proper oversight around it.
Yeah, I think what this really, with the advent of NFTs really tells people within the marketplace, tells companies in the marketplace, is that people are willing to spend a lot of money on intangible items.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge, right? Like, as we think about it from a gaming perspective, remember back in the day, you get pre-orders. I would not pre-order something unless like pre-order bonus. Like, I wanted a physical thing. You guys can see all the physical things right now from pre-order items, right? There was that transition where it's like, oh, we're not doing a physical item. We're giving you a digital item. I'm like, I don't want your digital nonsense. I want a physical thing that tells me why I paid $10 extra. And we've seen that shift within games so that people are now much more willing to spend money on digital items, just things that you get in the actual game itself that you don't actually like. It doesn't make your box any bigger. It's just a download code or something that just like comes with the package itself. So I think that's really what NFTs is showing us, is that there's not just an interest in it, but sort of a hunger for it. Now, my personal opinion on NFTs is like same as my sister. There needs to be a lot more regulation on it. There's something that's a little bit iffy about like, hey, I bought this NFT that says I own this piece of art, but I don't actually own this piece of art, and anyone else can copy this piece of art. And I really just own a ticket that tells someone I own this piece of art, but it's indefensible because it's not actually regulated. Right. There's also we've also talked about the environmental concerns too, especially because a lot of the stuff is being bought and sold with crypto. So I think there's a lot of conversation that still needs to go about it. And so I don't blame folks who don't have a good understanding of it because it's still very extremely online. Like if I were to ask my mom about like, hey, did you get some Dogecoin? She'd be like, what? You want to buy some Ethereum? Like what? Huh? How? What? Buy some what? Like it doesn't make any sense for a lot of folks. And it's probably going to be like that for quite some time until we really figure this stuff out.
Fellas, opinion? Go ahead.
I have an opinion. I think with the OpenSea thing, it's a tragedy that it happened this way, but it let us know one thing for certain: blockchain does work, because that's how he got caught, was through blockchain. Here it is; he's up here buying and reselling the art before it launches because he's the head of product and he knows what's going out there, and he's able to buy. There's a record of it. And he tried his best to get rid of it on the blockchain, but you can't get rid of it. So blockchain does work. It's technology that does work. It's the people that we have to worry about that run the technology.
Always.
It is the Wild West. It's like, hey, we got gunpowder. You can make fireworks, or you can put a projectile behind it and go run through the cities and make sure you get everything there. And if they get real savvy, you stack a whole lot of it into a stick and you throw it at somebody's house.
So my theory. Oh, go ahead, Travis. Go ahead.
So my theory on NFTs parallels the real world, right? The difference between designer jeans and normal jeans usually is where you bought them and whose logo is on your butt. Right. Yes. There's some quality issues a lot of times, and those things that you can see and feel and so on and so forth. But, the difference definitely doesn't justify the price hike most of the time. But it's an agreement, right? That this is quality and this is not. So there's two things that need to happen as far as I'm concerned. First is that we need to have some way of determining something's digital value instantly, or casual observation. For example, like that's the difference between something that was painted by Leonardo da Vinci and some person who was a third year college student. As far as their worth are concerned. And so as soon as we can do that, I think we're going to be off to the races, right? And I think that the metaverse is going to be the final arbitration there, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you're playing massively multiplayer games, for example, right, there's an agreement between the players about how hard it is to procure certain things inside of the game. Mm-hmm. Right. And when you can display those things, people look at you and they go, that's dope. The same thing that happens if you go to a club and someone sees that you got on the new Gordon Gartrell shirt.
So
that's an old joke for y'all who don't know. So
do you guys think like NFTs is turning into more of less of a collectible and more of a profit driven market?
100%.
I think
it's all of that. It's all of it.
Images in a folder, but I'm flipping these and I'm constantly flipping these and turning this into a profit.
As soon as companies got involved in it, like the NBA was selling NFTs and stuff like that. Yes.
Yep. So that's what I'm going to mention. Like I've heard like about the NBA, like selling NFTs, like, other like big organizations, like selling NFT of like video, like, I don't know if this is something that they've started doing, but like, let's say WWE was like, oh, we're going to start selling NFTs of this particular match or whatever. I mean, that's basically what the NBA was doing, is NFTs of this video clip, and everything's always like, we're a capitalist society. So everyone's going to always try to figure out like, how they can make the most money off of it. It's not saying that there's not value for it for sure. I think there definitely is, particularly for artists, to be able to like, actually be able to monetize more with their own artwork. have someone else take their take their artwork and they make a bunch of money off it. So I'm all for it. I just think that there needs to be like some proper, I think some regulation and stuff like that. And for that, there needs to be more people need to do more research and stuff to understand, I think, all the ramifications there.
Leon, you got something to say?
Yeah, I mean, any market is about speculation, right?
Yeah.
And it's about the fast movers getting in early before people discover that, oh, this actually isn't that great. You could pick any security on any stock market and you'll see the exact same patterns. That's what's happening here.
Yeah, totally agree. So, hey, let us jump on here to the long topic here, folks. We said we want to talk a little bit about how to reconcile being a gamer and being in game development. What do I mean by that? I mean, we all got into game development. We were gamers, right? We're all gamers at some point, right? We all love games. And that's probably what we want to get into game development. So, and I assume the majority of us still continue to like games even after being in game development and even after seeing how the sausage is made, But I just want to talk a little bit about, I guess, how did your perspective change on how you look at games now that you're seeing them from the, seeing what's happening behind the scenes, how you experience games and how you experience entertainment. Leon, kick us off there.
I'm a lot more patient than I used to be, right? Like I think when I was younger, I could be very dismissive of a game. This sucks, and you throw your hands up. And after having gone through some projects that didn't ship quite the way I wanted, I recognize that you can put years of work into a game that doesn't do well. And honestly, I always try to find like the game's got some decent quality to it. And I always try to find that thing. Like, what was the thing that they really got right at the expense of other things? The other thing is I know we're going to talk about games we're playing later, so I'll save this for then. But I notice where features have been cut. Right, like I'm playing and I go, oh no, they cut that to make their day, and I'm aware of that now. So I definitely. I look at games more professionally. It's not. I enjoy the experience, but it's also a professional analysis of what has been presented to me.
Mm-hmm. The last third of your big AAA and quad A level games, examine the story for those a little bit tight, because there's going to be some really big gaps. I can't remember what game it was. One of the Gears of War. I'm watching. I'm like, how did they get back to the? Oh, okay, yeah. Someone had
to cut some stuff.
But here's the thing, like as developers like that too. One of the things we notice is like a lot of that doesn't really matter. Like, yes, you'll get like the critiques and the folks who go through it. Like, because the majority of games, believe it or not, people don't finish the majority of games. Yeah. Which is really painful to admit. But we also know that on the developer side. So understand the beginning of the game is going to get the most polished because we got to hook you, right? We always talk about the first 15, the first 60, right? First 15, we got to hook you in the game. First 60, you usually like want to be able to run you through like what the core game loop is. So you know what the experience is going to be like. You understand what the compulsion loop is for the entirety of the experience. The last 15, no one talks about that. The last 60, what? You're probably not even going to see it. So, just echoing everything that Leon said, it gives you a lot of just nuance and understanding context for what it takes to make a game. Because nobody goes out to make a bad game, and I'm sure everyone here, all your faithful techn00bians, would probably have some credits in some objectively bad games.
I'm curious. So I'm curious, has it changed how you play games? Because I'll give the example for me. Like when I first started, I started in game development. I was, doing testing. And like, once you learn, like I did test, I also did standards and compliance. So once you learn about things that the game has to handle and cannot fail at, it changed the way I played games. I'd be like, oh, there's a cutscene I don't want to watch. I'm going to try and pop the disc out. I'm going to see if I can skip this cutscene and pull out this thing and do all these other things that just button map. I know the game has to handle it like, in a graceful fashion. So it changed a little bit of the way I played games because I knew that there were certain things that like, the game had to handle or was supposed to handle. I'm just kind of curious for folks. What are your thoughts on this?
See, I went the exact opposite. I realized that games are incredibly fragile, and I stopped trying to break stuff. I remember I was playing I think it was the first Prince of Persia. What was that first one called? Sands of Time.
Sands of Time. Yeah. Way.
And there was something at the very, very end of the game. I just like finished it, whatever, and it's like you can go through this like this sand portal or something. I said,
"Oh, this was the second one. This was not Sands of Time.
No. This was Sands of Time. Warrior Within was completely busted and made me
okay.
angry. I never finished it. I actually took it back to the store. But Sands of Time, I was like, I wonder what will happen if I start a new game after I do this thing. Oh, the game exploded. I knew it was going to explode, and so I thought to myself, okay, don't try and test games. They are a little bit more fragile. Like if I have an expectation that something like I was just messing around in it, and yeah, it's going to be buggy. There's no such thing as a bug-free game, right? It's all about like prioritizing stuff. So it made me handle them a little more with kids' gloves. I wasn't popping trays.
I think that I analyze games constantly, and it's I liken game creation to cooking a lot because I think there's a lot of parallels between them. So when I'm experiencing something, I know how you made it. Like I know how you cooked it, right? And that's this esoteric skill that I didn't even know I had, and it just happened. So, and how that's affected me is that I think that everyone has different reasons why they play. But can enjoy the same type of game, but enjoy it for different reasons.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you have to respect that. You have to respect that and give people what they want, right? Gaming is escapism. And if you are not doing your best to give people an escape mechanism, you are failing as a game designer and as a game maker, because that is your job. So in order to simulate that, you have to, you have to see it. And if you can't see it by actually respecting those different, perspectives, you'll never be a great game maker ever.
That's fair. So here's a question for folks, right? Because we talked a little bit earlier about about how we all reacted when Nintendo sent out this tweet saying, "Hey, we're adding Bluetooth support." And of course, we're all looking at it from like the side of like being gamers, right? Because it's like we've been asking for it. People have been asking about this for forever. We're under this impression that it was a lot, not that it was saying it's easier or something like that, but we were under the impression that it was like a hardware fix and stuff like that. And I know from the perspective of gamers, we're probably thinking, from a gamer perspective, oh, well, you guys can fix this at any time. This should be like, this should have been easy or whatever, right? I'm kind of curious, like, let's step out of like the gamer perspective and look at it from the game dev perspective. What are the perspectives Nintendo might have had on this? Why might they have I just wanted to see what the thoughts are looking at this as a game developer, not as a gamer. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the one that I just have to interject, and we have talked about this before, is that gamers don't like DLC that's shipped on the disc. Real issues with that. Then when I pay $10 and it's like, boop, unlocked, you're like, wait a minute, I paid for that already. So that's kind of how Nintendo felt, right? It's like, oh, we enabled this thing. And I was like, wait, it was there all the time. It felt like the DLC on the disc to me, right?
Yeah. So
go on, Leon.
This is more emotional vampirism going on.
I know. I hate to feed them, but
No,
that's some serious science, though.
It is. It's a good analogy. Yeah, I mentioned earlier that I firmly think this was probably a political decision, and I'll tell you a short story a friend of mine told me, which is it's so illustrative of a lot of these sorts of decisions that are made. Friend of mine, she went to Japan. She was in a cafe in probably in Tokyo, and she ordered a green tea and she asked for sugar. And they said, "Oh, we don't have sugar." And she said, "Oh, okay. Well, she's like fine with that." And so she's got her green tea and she's drinking her non-sweetened, just a little bitter green tea. And she looks over and she sees another table and she sees someone ordered a coffee and they bring over some sugar. And she says, see what I'm saying? She calls him over and says, wait, I thought you said you didn't have sugar. And I'm like, yeah, we don't. I was like, but they have sugar. And she said, they say, oh yeah, like they have sugar. I'm like, well, why don't I have sugar? It's like, well, because the sugar is for the coffee. It's not for the green tea.
Green tea. Yeah,
because
that's about right.
Yeah, because what they were saying is like,
Japan.
there's a certain experience that they want you to have. Nintendo probably said, yes, we could give you Bluetooth tomorrow with asterisks next to it, like for what Chuck said earlier, right? We can give you Bluetooth tomorrow. But that's not the experience we want you to have, because also based off what Chuck's saying, it's a pretty janky experience. Yeah. So we're not going to we're giving you unsweetened green tea because this is what you bought. You want some sugar? Okay.
Order coffee.
Well, here you go. Yeah, order the coffee if you want some sugar. And when they gave us the sugar, all we're doing is complaining right now.
Oh man, that sounds so Japanese.
It is.
It's so Japanese.
It's very much around the experience they want you to have, right?
Yeah.
It went a long way.
Whereas the American thinking, like we're very much, you look at our commercials, right? Like have it your way. How many different ways can you get your Burger King burger? Like Americans are all about, no, just my experience. And Japan's like, no, this is the experience we're going to allow you to have.
But they didn't give us the sugar. They took the sugar, covered it in ketchup, and said, there you go.
You want sugar? Wipe away the ketchup. I'll wipe away the ketchup. There's your sugar.
But the sugar that you got is not, it was like, like agave something or other stuff. Like it was the sugar. Or it's like some sugar that gives you, like stevia, that gives you cramps. And you're like, what's my cramp in? We're like, yeah, well, we gave you the sugar that you asked for, so
it's not the right sugar.
It's not the right sugar. Joy-Cons, yeah.
Cincinnati is determined to go down with Mario, boy.
Yeah.
And his tea. Get out of here. Get out of here.
I'm just like, I'm explaining like how I understood the decision making around that. Not like as a developer. As a gamer, as a person who plays games, of course I wanted Bluetooth. I wanted it 4 years ago, and I wanted it 4 years ago, and I changed the way in which I use my Switch based on the fact that it wasn't there.
Yeah.
As a developer, dealing with platform holders is a sweet and sour experience. And I say this because as a developer, you know damn well what that hardware can do. You do, because you deal with it every day, all day. Okay. Sometimes when you're doing things that are on the edge, you get your wrist slapped for it. They're like, don't come near that ketchup. There's sugar in there. Right? You're like, dude, I got it. I got this. I'm feeling this. Right. And they're like, don't you do it. Don't you do it. And you're like, but why? I understand the concept of how to get that sugar out of the ketchup. Right. But it's political because they go, are you going to share with the rest of the class? Hell no. Well, then now you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because everyone after you is going to be asking that same question.
Okay.
And that is what that's more likely, the relationship that that developers have with platform holders, because they are capable of doing great things with technology, things that sometimes the platform holder never saw. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's not until you get that new person in there, and listen up, kids, this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's not until you start thinking a little differently, till you start building things not like they intended, but how you intended, where you go in there and you say, let me show you some cool stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. But you also have to know that you're now in this political environment. And now what are you going to do? Because you have different problems in. It's not technology that you're dealing with, it's business that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
How many times have we as game developers, when you went to submit something and you get a return back that says this is a must fix, you're like, wait a second, but here's a list of games that did this that you
tons.
Immediately, like, they have a choice at that point of like, crap. Either they're like, they called us on it, okay, we'll let you do it. Or if you're Nintendo, they're like, we don't care what we allowed someone else.
I'll go even one further. I'll go even one further. Like, sometimes as a developer, something is mad easy to do on one console Okay. But it takes a Herculean effort to do it on another. Okay. And that, and that console that it's hard for, they're the ones giving you the business saying, well, you did it over here. Why can't you do it over there? You need to do it over here or we won't ship your product.
Yeah.
And now that costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars to actually get that parity. And that's real too. Yeah. Right. And that's, once again, that's the business of technology.
Yeah. I just find it really interesting that like the, there's Nintendo's getting a backlash. We got a backlash for not having Bluetooth. They're now getting a backlash for their implementation of Bluetooth. I wonder what their next steps are going to be, right? They might iterate on it, or they might just be like, well, listen, we gave you the ketchup sugar. I mean, you asked for it, have some ketchup sugar. You don't like the ketchup sugar? Okay, well.
Plug up.
That's nice.
I do feel though there's probably some way that Nintendo could have like at least mitigated some of the response. I mean, because they like not only, yes, it took them a long time to actually do this, but like they released it like unceremoniously, which is like, here's a tweet, by the way, that thing y'all been asking for.
You know what I bet happened?
Years.
I bet Nintendo America took a look at that and said, oh, this experience is not great. Here's how we're going to present it in the US market.
But they should have known how it was going to be received because people have been asking for it. So I said the fact they gave it to they finally did respond to what gamers have been asking for. Great. But like they took something that gamers have been asking for and they were like, here's a beat up, trashy old box that we're going to stick it in. And here, left it on your doorstep. A box of that.
No.
Pick which one.
They put it into the box, then beat the box up.
The box up.
Here, this is what you wanted, huh? You wanted that Fabergé egg.
For you.
He's like, this is what you wanted. This is what you wanted.
Because I think the thing that was interesting about this, but like as developers, and correct me if I'm off on any of this, I think we're all pretty seasoned in our spaces. Mm-hmm. I did not suspect this was a software update. I thought this was a hardware update, and so I suspect that what they got us was about. I'm not saying it can't be better, but I'm sure they're probably still limited on their ability to support this by the existing hardware. So. Yeah, this might be as good as it gets, or some minor iteration on this until they actually iterate on the hardware itself. Because I think this is probably a combination of hardware software thing.
Yeah, I've rarely seen an issue like this from Nintendo, right? That was planned obsolescence.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I can say a lot of things about Nintendo, but they don't set out to make inferior product at all. And so if it is this janky, it had to be, they had to enable this through a tremendous amount of kicking and screaming because it just doesn't seem like something that Nintendo would do. It is very un-Nintendo.
I gotta say, by the way, I love how it's like opposite day because like Travis is like offering kind comments and words of Nintendo and like I like my sister and I, who are like giant Nintendo fans, I know are kind of like, come on, Nintendo. What is going on? At the same
time, I said, I like my green tea unsweetened too. So,
well, like
that's the best way to have it because that's how it's supposed to be had.
And me having harsh words for Apple.
That's true.
Yes. Yeah. Also, all of these things.
Is opposite day ever fall on a Saturday before? It's usually
it does now. Okay. It is. Today is opposite day officially.
We now know the Bryants don't like ketchup.
Especially with sugar.
Is high fructose corn syrup that's colored red with like red number 5 or something.
Yeah, mixed with ketchup and put in green tea. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm not thirsty.
Some people put butter in their coffee, so I'm sure someone out there on the TikToks has probably put ketchup in their tea as well.
So I like this was a great conversation, and I think there's probably like a million things we can kind of continue to talk about this because, I said we all have to kind of try and reconcile those two parts of ourselves, right? Like the gamer part that wants everything and wants what we want, but then the game dev part that kind of like now that we see how the sausage is made and understand it. We kind of, you have empathy, right? For like, oh, okay, maybe, I can look at it this way and understand maybe why this decision was made. Might not necessarily have been like what I consider the right decision or the way I would have gone about it. But I maybe understand it a little bit more than like just give me everything when I have it, when I want it now or whatever with it. But yeah, so I would love, one day we'll probably come back to that conversation somewhere in here. But I want to close us up today by finding out what everyone is playing. It's been a little while since we talked about it. So, what is everyone playing? Travis, kick us off here.
Well, I have what I'm playing, what I'm going to start playing too.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started playing Blood Hunt, which is the Vampire the Masquerade, first person shooter. Which I'm one of the Vampire the Masquerade creators, and so it's always like pretty psychedelic actually to see something that you created when you were a teenager. Now that you're a grown man, seeing how everything got plussed up. So I'm a little overclamped by that. I want to start playing Deathloop now because it's not often where you have not one but two Black leads, doing their thing. And so it could be a trash game. I probably still buy it, but the fact that I have seen it actually get rated 10 out of 10 on 2 different sites, I'm all down. I'm so for it. I'm going to download it immediately.
Nice. So, okay, great. Yeah. It is very rare to actually have, 2 Black protagonists. 2
Unbelievable.
In a single game. 2 maybe in like 150 games. Maybe that's still
a Black man and a Black woman. What?
Take my money.
It's crazy. Yeah, take my money. Take my money too. All right, let's see. Chuck, what are you playing right now?
Right now, I'm playing Miles, and then I'm going to Deathloop. So I'm going from 1 Black character to 2 Black characters. Yeah, Deathloop had. I wasn't going to play Deathloop at all. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to play this game. And then I saw the ratings come in, and I'm like, Lord, people are like loving it. They love it.
Yeah. I said they're gonna get in trouble. Like, give us too many things where we can play Black protagonists. That might be all we
for the internet to come in and say this can't be real. This is not real. This is not how it happens in real life.
Mm-hmm. Right? Time travelers can't be Black.
We can't have 2 Black people in the same place at the same time.
We have time.
You know what that's called? Okay, Leon, what are you playing?
So I'm playing Aliens Fireteam, and enjoying it. It's not a great game, but it is a good game, and as somebody that really enjoys that franchise, I'm really liking it. This is the game I'm referring to. There's some things like the audio. Their audio is just perfect, right? They really nailed it. But there's other things like server and hosting blips and NPCs that they play the audio but they don't actually move their lips. So I'm like, that got cut. That's actually the game I'm referring to. But overall, I like it. I don't think it has a ton of replayability, but I also think it's appropriately priced at $40. And if you're a fan of Aliens, then I'd say go check it out.
Yeah. No, hey, absolutely. Shanae, how about you?
So I am playing Resident Evil 7, which I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. Or at least I thought I was a huge Resident Evil fan. Resident Evil 7 is like a return to like the sort of scarcity of resources and scarcity of ammo and stuff like that too, like that the series originally had. Whereas 4, 5, and 6 were more on the action end of the spectrum. So I'm playing it, and my sister Cherie is also playing it along with me. We're making
tag teaming.
Yeah, we're probably about 50% of the way through.
Probably.
One note I just have to say is the battle with Jack is perhaps the most frustrating battle I have ever seen created in a shipped video game in the last 5 years. It was.
And you bought Returnal.
And I bought Returnal. Returnal I actually really enjoyed because at least you can see the path to success. This battle, man, let me tell you, we had to go on YouTube and look up how do I beat this guy. And we found the cheesiest way to do it. He did it. And I'm like, at the end of it, I'm like, I know that Capcom didn't expect me to play. I know that whoever designed this did not think this is the way I want someone to finish this battle. So that aside, it's been a really interesting experience. I'll probably have a better review and a better opinions on it if we actually finish it.
Yeah.
I do need to just interject one real quick comment about Resident Evil 7. If you are lost for 3 years and I find that you were in that house, I'm not coming to get you.
Yeah, right?
Jeez.
I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be like, well, it was
Especially when the first encounter, when I try to come get you, you try and kill me. I'm like, we're done. We're done.
cut off my arm. No,
Yeah.
listen. It's That's it. Peace.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. All right, Ryan, what are you playing?
I am playing Brothers Bond.
There you go.
Word.
So Brothers Bond is my board game. I created this board game with a friend of mine, Chris Diaz, and we're getting ready to launch a Kickstarter in the first or second week of next month. Right now, if you actually go to brothersbondthegame.com, you'll be able to download a playable demo of that game, and you can print and play it there at home. And then when the Kickstarter launches, just support me, please.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, awesome. Drop the links in the chat there, Ryan, for it as well. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all for such a lovely show. We want to give a shout out to Digital Click for all the creative they provide for us for each and every show. If you want to learn more about us, about Technubians,
and
hit
we
our
know
website.
You
You're a little early with it. Hit up our website, technubians.com. That's technubian, techn00bians.com. Please follow us here on Twitch. And if you like our vibe,
and we know you do.
No, you do.
consider subscribing to the network. You can follow us on all our socials, search Geekish Network on all major platforms. Pod Squadron and Nerdtastic are on a break right now. But if you want to see anything else that's going on Geekish Network and wondering what else geek that we're talking about, check out the schedule of shows on our Twitch page. That's it for now. Thanks for watching and see you all next week.
Peace.